So we can go ahead and get started with this. I'll obviously, when I post this, I'll edit out all that first part where we're just kind of shooting everything. So we're going to go ahead and get started with this. We're going to call it an open forum. So when we were at the first immersion all the way back in February in person, we had that break. I forget which day of it was when we could kind of just, shoot the crap about things that are going on. Any concerns? I remember back then it was physio was the big thing. But so Zach and I have just a few updates, a few things that we just want to share with you, a few ideas and so forth. And then also, not that you have to comment in this chat, obviously, but in the comments, whenever I get this posted, we'll have a chance for everyone to just write any concerns that they have. And I've been relaying things to Dr. Gagnon as we've gone. I've gotten things from people. And I think everyone kind of understands that there are things that, just students like Zach and me, there are things that are out of our control. But it is good for the faculty to hear things from you guys. So please continue to do that. So I'm going to hand this over first of all, to Zach. He has a couple of points to make, and then I'll take over with a few other points as well. So take it away, Zach.
Appreciate it, Kev. No, Rick, nobody wants to look at us. They're ashamed of us. I don't know. Like Kevin said, we just wanted to talk about some things that we were discussing. Just thoughts that we had. Some people were reaching out to me with things, and with Kevin. So just some things that we wanted to address. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, and I thought would be a good idea, some people have just, with the busyness of what's been going on with virtual labs and last 6 weeks of classes, and I guess given the landscape of, the coronavirus and in-face labs and being ready for January and getting in the clinic, there are some anxiety just with the unknown, and usually the unknown creates a lot of fear in general. And there are things, like Kevin said, that we can't control that we don't know, but I wanted to talk about some things that we do know. And the first thing was a curriculum overview. And the reason that I want to talk about the curriculum in general was just in case somebody didn't know what was coming up, somebody wasn't aware of like what specific courses are covered in our curriculum, because I know that after looking at it today and a little more in depth, I got a little more relief knowing what was coming forward. So first off, this point forward, we just ended the first 6 weeks of our patient management classes. So every class from here on out is going to be patient management centered, meaning that your clinical exam, your objective measures, your diagnosis, your management of a patient, all of those things, your treatment, all of those things are going to be the main thing from here on out. So that's the first thing. And with that, our future labs are going to have paid actors or actual patients to practice on. So those reps of doing this stuff in face is going to happen, and it's going to happen a lot from here until the end of the year. I'm just talking about pretty much in this from where we are now, where we come from, and where we're going in this calendar year, because next year is a whole nother ball game with actual being in the clinic. So as of right now, we've covered roughly, I just guesstimated, about 35 credit hours. So we're basically halfway through the year. So if you think about it, that's a butt ton of credit hours that we've already gone through in a half a year. So really the same amount we're going to cover in the next half of the year. So we have about 30 plus more hours left. We have 24 in the spring, 22 in the summer, 24 in the fall, right? So that's pretty much almost like a master's level graduate program in 1 year. I know that mine was even less than that. So the amount that's coming is, first of all, still going to be as much as we've already had. And if anybody can think back to where they were in January, we're light years from that. So imagine where you're going to be in December from specific patient management classes and specific musculoskeletal classes. So a couple of things. I know that anatomy wise, we never feel like we have enough anatomy knowledge. I know that I could probably study anatomy the rest of my life, and probably will. We all will in the clinic, just from treating patients. But we just went through our first MSK classes. This is one of 4 MSK classes that we have. The first one was lumbar spine and hip, as we all know. The second one is entirely lower extremities. All right, entirely lower extremities, that's it. And then the third one is cervical and thoracic spine. So it's all neck, all thoracic spine. And the fourth MSK is all upper extremities. So you have 3 more classes to, one, hit up more anatomy, hit up more clinical exams, objective exams, all of those things, patient management, and pathologies within those areas. So those are specific classes and areas that they address. So I know that just knowing that makes me feel a little bit better about what's coming. Also, there's 2 neuro practice classes that we still haven't even touched because we haven't finished neuro anatomy or neurophysiology yet. So I know that neuro kind of is that class right now that's bothering a lot of us and kind of don't understand it and how it applies. And many of us don't want to practice in neuro, but some of us do. But knowing neuro and its involvement with MSK and other systems obviously is super important. So we have 2 more neuro practice classes. Those are 3 credits each. Those aren't small classes too. We have a patient management class, specifically patient management, that's 2 hours. And then we have an aging adult management class, which I was excited to see, and I put an asterisk by because in January we're going to all do an acute rotation or in a nursing home or in a hospital. And I don't know about y'all, but the fear of like dropping an older person or geriatric like will keep me up at night probably before I go to that clinic. So just being in that class and knowing how to treat an older adult and this providing them great care is definitely something that I was excited to see on the curriculum coming forward. So those are just some basic things with the curriculum. It's all on Baylor's DBT website. They do have, I think, a typo though, because on MSK4 they put lower extremity again, but I'm pretty certain that's an upper extremity class. So I really don't have the courage to email anybody about that, but hopefully they fix that one day. So that's just the curriculum overview in a nutshell. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Second thing, does anybody have any questions about classes or anything? I'm not like the guru of knowing all the classes because it's all on the website. You can look at it for yourself. But does anybody have any questions or anything about classes or what we're going to be walking into in the future? All right, no news. Cool. So awkward when you ask a question and nobody answers. Rick's good. If Rick's good, we're moving forward. All right. So second thing is talking about just isolation and that whole conversation of, hey, we haven't seen each other in a long time. One, I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone's staying healthy. But I don't know if there's specific ways that y'all have been trying to fight the isolation bug and just being around other people, or is anybody doing regular like scheduled Zoom calls with a certain clique of people that they study with? Does anybody have anything that's been really helpful for them as far as like things that we can adopt as leaders and assistant class leaders that maybe can help with the isolation bug that sometimes we all have? All right. Nobody's isolated. Everybody's feeling very community oriented. Cool. So anyways, if anybody has any ideas or they're doing something that they think would benefit others in our cohort, just let us know. If you don't want to tell the group, you can tell us, but just remember that you're not alone. And that's the biggest thing that Kevin and I talked about on Saturday, is that we want to reiterate to y'all, is that you're not alone on this journey. So especially with the unknown of like the coronavirus and, are we going to be able to go to labs in August, all the things that are kind of hanging over our heads right now. One, we still have school to focus on. We have tests to take. We have labs to do. So if you are feeling isolated, there's no reason for you to feel that way. I mean, I just encourage you to reach out to us or to a group of people or your academic team and know that you're not alone in what we're doing. So especially like school related stuff, if like you go through a virtual lab or you didn't do well in a practical or you don't understand something and it's keeping you up at night, or it's giving you that anxiety that, hey, like I really don't feel confident when I get in the clinic in January, even at 6 months away, like that's not irrelevant. And that's not something that you should feel discouraged about having some anxiety or doubts about, right? We're in an entry level program. We're not going to know everything by design. So, but I say that on the other side, we want to be as prepared as possible. So just know that you have other people in this program that may be good in areas where you're not, and vice versa. So just know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and know when you need to reach out to somebody when you're just having those feelings of isolation or just not feeling encouraged in general. So, or lacking confidence. I know I've definitely gone through those phases. Everybody has in this program. So just know that. I think that's really it with that. And like Kevin said, we're talking to the faculty. We don't meet during labs with the faculty, with Dr. G, and eventually with Dr. Feta, who's now our Director of Student Affairs. So just know that we're not meeting with them right now. So if you have anything that you want us to bring up, please let us know, because unless you tell us your frustrations, they're not going to be heard, right? So you can complain and bitch to anybody in your family, but they can't do anything about it. If you bitch to Kevin or I or somebody in the group that can tell us, we actually can talk to faculty and actually have them listen. We don't know that for sure, Rick. I mean, I think Kevin and I would agree that we hope that happens, because she would do a great job in that role, and it's in-house, which I think is something that we all feel like would be the best thing for the program. But we haven't gotten that for sure. We don't know, because she's doing pediatric lab, I think, right now, and all that. So, but that's a good question. But I'll jump off my seat now.
So yeah, thanks, Zach. And again, as he said, make sure that if you've got any pressing concerns, bring it to us, and we will relay it to the faculty. That is what our, if you want to call it a job, that's what it entails. I won't say a name, but there was somebody who brought something to my attention, and I actually do want to actually message them back personally. But they had asked about the fact that we've got all of these gaps, so to speak, in our classes. So for example, with TI1, we went through the 6 weeks of the course. We just took a final exam in there, and then of course we had the virtual lab before that. And we still have a practical in that class that's coming up when we have our August immersion in person. And what this person had asked me was, well, what about taking these final exams and remembering all this information if we had this huge gap? But as you saw with TI1 and TI2, even if we have other skills to learn later on, they're not going to do that to us where they take the final and put it way off in the distance, even though we haven't finished every little skill that we need to learn. So, we just took the TI1, TI2 finals, and maybe we do have some skills to learn specific to TI1 later on, but they're not going to do that to us where we have to retain all this information, hold off on a final exam, and then take that final exam way off in the future. So I think you've kind of seen with at least the 2 classes that we've just gotten through, and even with health and fitness promotion, we had already had the final exam in there. I think you're seeing that they're not going to try and kill us in that way. And the skills that we eventually do learn in TI1, for example, that are in person, and then same thing with health and fitness promotion, they'll use some past knowledge, yes, but they're going to do everything they can to get us prepared, as Zach was saying. And again, same thing with those pressing concerns. If you have any of those, make sure you tell either of us, and then we will be talking with Dr. Gagnon, and then also Dr. Feta. We will be talking with both of them in our meetings, which will resume as soon as virtual lab finishes. Another thing also that I wanted to mention is that so in terms of virtual labs so far, we've obviously just halfway through it, but God forbid any of this was to happen again. I hope not. But we'd like to hear your ideas about what your likes or dislikes were for the virtual lab. So what I'm probably going to do is put together it might be more organized to do it in a Google Doc. You can just list some things in there. And so just some feedback on it. Obviously, there's the faculty course evaluations, but if there's anything specific, anything that you really, really didn't like or really, really did like, it'd be useful to know that stuff. And so I'll probably be putting together some kind of a Google Doc or something like that. So definitely we and the faculty do want to hear your feedback on that as well. And then also, this is credit to Rick White. And to be fair, he's told me some other things too. But for now, I think one of these is a really good idea. That I think it's pretty easy to implement just for us as students. And this is more when we get into semester 2.2 and 3.1, the actual semesters. We've got all these articles in every single class. And I mean, you guys have seen in musculoskeletal, just that class alone per test, there's got to be like 10, 15 articles, something like that. And so Rick had an idea where every week we could delegate, of course you could volunteer yourself, but one student to read one paper. And to basically get some summarizing material for it. I know on Facebook I had done that on my own for the first, I think it was the first MSK exam. And you can kind of see what I had in mind there if you go back to the files. But if every one person, just did one paper, we could probably get an entire spreadsheet of all these articles for every single class within a couple of days. And then it would be available for everybody. And I think it would, just take a huge amount of work off of people if you didn't have to go through every single one of those papers. If we all worked together as a cohort, put together a little spreadsheet that had all the information on it for each of them, I think that'd be very useful. And Rick suggested doing it in a Google Doc type of format, or even an Excel file or whatnot. And so I think that's something good we could implement starting, in 2.2 once our actual classes begin. And of course, you mind if I just take this last one just real quick, Zach?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just thinking of a couple of things while you were talking. Awesome points all around. I think with Rick's idea, I think we can even expand upon that. I know we have like Quizlets that float around, but some people do outlines or a lot of typing with their notes, so just having an open doc with, little tidbits of, because I feel like that's where a lot of test questions come from, is that little tidbit that you might or may not picked up, especially like during a virtual lab or something like that. And then I was just thinking about virtual labs too, just to kind of like differentiate, like there's skills that we have to learn and get better at, like being a manual therapist, for example, is a skill. There's practice involved. There's obviously getting better at it. And the skill of just being with a patient. So there's skills that being in face definitely is the best way possible to do it. But there's also the didactic stuff and just learning material. So I think just in context, along with the curriculum and where we're at, always remember in separating, didactic work and studying and tests versus clinical skills and clinical things that you only can really do in the clinic, or in our case now, maybe virtual labs. So just understanding how those are separate, but they're also intertwined, and you have to take the knowledge from the exam and apply it in the clinic. So just always kind of remember that context too.
Yeah. And again, we're open to, if you have an idea, Rick submitted some ideas in the past. I've got some other ideas from other students as well. Some of them we've started to do. If you guys have any ideas, please let us know, because some of these things can be super, super helpful. And Zach just mentioned something about a Google Doc or something like that for all of our resources. My fiance, she's right now in Texas Tech's PT program. They just started like 4 weeks ago or something like that. And they are using some kind of an online program where it allows them to have one place where they upload all this stuff. And again, it's obviously independent from the faculty, so you can also use it to kind of, as Zach was saying, bitch about things. So you don't have to worry, if you post something on Bear Cave or whatnot. And then you also have to worry about, some people, I believe Rick's one of them, doesn't have a Facebook, and I don't know how many people don't have it or don't use it regularly. But I was thinking of talking to her about that and actually seeing if we could get something like that implemented, because it would allow even people that don't have Facebook, it'd be easier on us also to send some of that stuff out. And, you could just get to it on your phone. You could do it on your computer. but I'll talk to her about that specifically and see if that's something we can try. I'll have to look at what the name of it is, but there's a lot of things we can do to get all this stuff out to everybody. But if you guys have any ideas, make sure to let us know. I'm going to give the floor back to Zach to see if he has anything else to talk about.
I think that's kind of it. Like I said, we didn't want to spend up too much of anybody's time. I'm trying to think of anything. I can't really think of anything that we talked about on Saturday that was pertinent. But like I said, I mean, communication is like the biggest thing in our program, just based on the format of what we're doing and how we're doing it. So like, be communicating with people that you regularly communicate with, but also don't be afraid to reach out to somebody in your academic team or on Facebook or whatever it may be, and just offer help or encouragement or whatever it may be. Just know that, like I said earlier, we're all in this together. So that's just the biggest thing.
And I think that's about all we had for now. We may come on and do this, you know, once a week, once every other week. But I think I'll talk to Zach about this. We'll try and do this maybe one more time before the actual semester starts, 2.2, so that we can kind of just communicate once more. But I think that's it. So I think we can, if you're okay with it, Zach, we can go ahead and call it here. So I want to thank you guys for coming out to this. I know it's not a whole lot of new stuff, but a lot more of ideas to spread. And I'm going to talk to Zach about some things. I'm going to try and get some, you know, maybe I was talking about this one thing. I think I'll have to look what the name is. I really don't remember. I'll ask my fiance. But, you know, one unified program, it's free. You can just download it to your phone and you can have access to all the Quizlets, all the files, websites, anything in the world. And again, it would be useful for the few people that we have also that don't have Facebook. But additionally, I know we have our academic group chats and we've got, you know, maybe some specific group chats just with friends, but it'd be a way also to have communication between every single student in the cohort at once. I'll look into that and provide some more information. So thank you guys for coming out. I will see you guys in virtual lab tomorrow. So make sure to get some sleep, eat breakfast, and good luck, everybody.